F1 Manager 24, the grid changes every race. The 2024 Netherlands or Dutch Grand Prix, round number 8 of this season, this first season. And this is the grid. Carlos Sainz back in a Williams, Lewis Hamilton in a Sauber, Lando Norris in a Haas, George Russell in a Red Bull, Max Verstappen at Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso back at McLaren, Esteban Ocon back in Alpine, Alex Albon also at Alpine, Daniel Ricciardo at Williams, Oscar Piastri at Mercedes, Kevin Magnussen at Ferrari, Nico Hulkenberg at RB, Sergio Perez at Sauber, Charles Leclerc at RB, Lance Stroll back in an Aston Martin again, Zhou Guanyu at Haas, Yuki Tsunoda at Mercedes, Logan Sargent at McLaren, Valtteri Bottas at Red Bull, and Pierre Gasly once again in a Ferrari. So that is the grid for this 8th round of the season, the halfway point after this round of this season. Starting things off here, we're going to go ahead and create a couple more of our new side pods. We weren't able to we didn't have the money to make them all last time out, so we're going to make 4. That's what I usually do, you know, 1 for each car and then a couple of spares. We are then going to manufacture our new chassis that we had designing last time out. So we've got enough money now, we can go ahead and make 4 of those. So we're going to go ahead get that going. Next up is, well, actually contracts stuff. So haven't really done a whole lot with contracts in this game because with the drivers, I'm very much going for I'm just swapping the drivers around all over the place. But for staff, I need to actually do something with the staff. So I'm trying to renew a contract for, I think it was the head of aero, I believe it was. Then for the sporting director, we're actually gonna have a look at Marco Peroni here, who is currently at RB. We're gonna give him a contract offer to come to Williams. So that's the offer that we're going to give him. 3 seasons, start next season, 1.6 mil. We'll see how he goes with that a little later on. We then have our chassis come through, so we can put our new chassis on both of our cars. And I believe the side pods we can now also put on car 2 because that was previously only on car 1. So now both of our cars actually have the same upgrades. And going into this race, we believe we can do P14 for Sainz. I reckon that's doable. And P16 for Ricciardo, that should surely be doable. Car 2 is ranked 14th on the grid, so hopeful that we can do something decent there with both cars. And as we look at the R&D chart, the performance chart, well, we have lost a little bit to Haas there. Actually, we closed right up to them in the previous race. They've had a bit more of an upgrade coming into this weekend. But we're still right there with them. As for Mercedes, they've just about managed to jump a bit higher than RB. This graph doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honest, because Mercedes definitely had a bigger dip than that, but you go further on through the season and the graph seems to change like previous results, so I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, not really. I don't think there's really any position changes in the graph. Q1, Sainz goes P1 at this point in time, but then we have a yellow flag. And it's Alex Albon, who's apparently had a crash in the Alpine. Here he goes round the right-hander, puts his foot too far down and smacks into the wall. I don't think he's out of the session, but that's not great for him. Now, Sainz looks like he's pretty much good to go through here. However, Ricciardo's not quite. He's in P16 at the moment, but he's on a better lap. And as he crosses the line, he goes to P13. Not as great as I would have hoped, but he does get through in P14 there through to Q2. No real surprises out. Both Alpines, Perez in the Sauber and Norris in the Haas, and I think it was Hulkenberg in an RB also out. Maybe that one, a little bit of a shock to see Hulkenberg in the RB out, considering where that car is on paper. Q2 gets underway. Once again, first lot of laps here. Ricciardo this time the first one to cross the line. He does a 1:10.5. Sainz has pretty considerably been quicker than Ricciardo so far in these qualifying sessions. So as he comes to cross the line, where's he going to go? He is going to go ahead of Ricciardo by about 3.5 tenths. Then we have Valtteri Bottas, who I think is also having an issue. Yes, he is. He's now smacked into the wall in Q2. So there's plenty of action in qualifying here with Bottas making that mistake. And in the end, he he doesn't, that's him out of the session. He doesn't get through. And we have both cars through to Q3 because there wasn't actually any improvements in, well, not really any improvements in the final runs. So we have both of our cars into Q3, which I don't think's happened since Japan when we had that very wet session, and then kind of fell back in the race in the dry. This is the first time we've had dry pace in Q3 for both cars. So, I mean, even Max Verstappen didn't get into Q3 in Saudi Arabia. That was only round 2, but, you know, it's, yeah, pretty crazy. So, these are, well, this is Carlos Sainz's flying lap, which actually ended up being his first flying lap. Ricciardo's best lap was, I believe, his second one, which we'll, I think, see a little bit of at the end. But we're looking at the entirety of Sainz's lap here, because he was the quicker of the two drivers. Purple through the first sector at the moment, but not a lot of people gone through the timing lines yet. I believe the Aston Martin ahead of us, which I think is Verstappen, is the only driver ahead of us currently on a flying lap. So he's about to cross the line. There he goes, a 110.4. Sainz will come to cross the line, and he will just miss out by 0.03 of a second. And then we have a crash in Q3 as well. A crash in each qualifying session. This time it's Logan Sargent going off at the kind of rised up hairpin corner in the middle of the track. And in the end, Ricciardo there, currently in P9, so last of the people right now. He crosses the line. He does go quicker, but unfortunately, it's not going to change his position. Sainz ends up P8, Ricciardo's P9, and it's George Russell on pole for Red Bull with the two Ferraris behind him, although Kevin Magnussen looks to have a grid penalty, so we'll see how he will stack up come the grid on for the race. But we've got both of our cars in Q3, and it's P8 and P9. That's not terrible, you know. I'm definitely happy enough with that for our two cars.
It's a tremendous atmosphere once again here in Zandvoort, with 72 laps awaiting the drivers here today.
Zandvoort's highly banked corners make it one of the more unusual Grand Prix circuits. Dutch driver Max Verstappen won with a dominant lead here in 2021, driving the home fans to a frenzy as he did.
On the North Sea coast of the Netherlands, Zandvoort is named for the dunes that split the circuit from the water. Coastal winds sweep across this tricky track, which has a banked section steeper than most ovals. Tension continues to build here as race day begins.
Right, this is the setup for the race. So it is actually going to be wet a little bit in this race. It's going to start dry, but we're going to have rain later on, which the last time that happened, we didn't have a great time because we were absolutely cooking the tyres at points. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes here. Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. The final preparations are now being made as we head into the race. The anticipation and excitement may be building up, but there's a cool head on Carlos Sainz.
An encouraging grid position as they sit in P8. Lots to build on during the race if they manage it well.
But just what will happen here, your guess is as good as mine. The drivers are ready and the crowds are waiting. It's the Dutch Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Here we go for the Dutch Grand Prix. Like I said, the weather is going to start coming in the further we get into this race, but for now it is dry. We are on medium compound tyres for both of our drivers. Most drivers are on the mediums, there are a few on the softs, but we'll see how it all pans out because the weather, I believe, is going to completely change up this whole thing. Sainz has had a good start. Ricciardo actually had a pretty good initial start, getting alongside Sainz through turn 1, but is now kind of lost place a little bit. He's not lost position, but he's now fallen back a little bit. But when this group is so close like this, it's not too bad. Ricciardo then on lap number 4 gets the move done on Sainz. Now I was pushing Ricciardo a little bit more because my idea was that we'll put Ricciardo on potentially a 2-stop, or like stopping before we get to the wet section, whereas Sainz we're going to try and just get all the way through to the wet section. So we'll see how that plays out. It does mean though that Ricciardo at the moment really needs to be going a bit quicker, so that's why I've let him go ahead. And unfortunately for Carlos Sainz, he is now getting overtaken, first of all, by Logan Sargent in the McLaren, a car that should be much further up the grid, but because of his crash in Q3 and just also because he's Logan Sargent, he is further down the order, but he does eventually get past Sainz. Then we have Zhou Guanyu, who pretty much does exactly what Sainz did in qualifying and smacks into the wall there, and I believe that is him out. His wheels looked rather crumpled up there for poor Zhou Guanyu in the Haas, but that's good for us because Haas is our main rival. He is out of this race. Now Ricciardo is also getting overtaken by Sargent, just too quick in that McLaren. And then up at towards the front end, Alonso is now trying to go for a move on Pierre Gasly, who is trying to get some good points on the board here. He's last in the championship, only on 10 points this season. He needs a podium here to get some good points on the board to lift him off the bottom of this championship. Sainz, unfortunately, is getting overtaken quite a bit here, although those cars are on soft compound tyres. They're also quicker cars than our Williams, so it's to be expected. And Sainz, you know, we are trying to save the tyres a bit more with him, although as you can see, the percentage on tyres is actually the same between Ricciardo and Sainz at the moment, so that's a little bit of a worry, I will be honest, as Russell gets overtaken by Alonso for the lead of this race. Alonso's come out of nowhere and has taken the lead of this Dutch Grand Prix. Ricciardo now is trying to go back at Logan Sargent down into turn 1. There he goes up the inside of Logan Sargent, and Ricciardo's now making his way back through the order once again. We then have Carlos Sainz, who is still unfortunately going the other way and actually having contact with a driver behind. I'm not sure who that was. That was one of the RBs. Contact made there between the two of them. Now Sargent going to get back past Ricciardo once again, down to turn 1 around the outside. Nice little move there actually for Sargent, and there's a Red Bull and a Mercedes side by side behind. I believe that is Tsunoda and Bottas, I believe that is, as Ricciardo is still carrying on here. He's now got Tsunoda and Bottas behind him. Sainz is a little bit further back now thanks to that contact. It was with Charles Leclerc, so Leclerc in the RB was the one that made that contact, and now there's contact with Ricciardo. Ricciardo's been punted off as well. What is going on? We're running in great positions and both of our cars have been punted off the road, and this is it with Yuki Tsunoda. He goes down the inside really audaciously, just is way too hot into that banking corner and just pushes Ricciardo off the track. That is so unfortunate. Thankfully Ricciardo doesn't hit the wall and there's no real damage on the car either. But yeah, both of our cars within a couple of laps of each other have had contact with other cars, neither of the instance being their fault though. And now, unfortunately, because of all that, Lewis Hamilton in the Sauber is now going past Sainz, so we've been overtaken. We've gone from being in the top 10 to now being overtaken by a Sauber. That is not ideal, and yep, here's now Sainz getting back past that Sauber. I think he just needed a bit of momentum to creep back up again, and there we go. Sainz is now past Hamilton, and now for the lead, Gasly's actually leading the way at this point in time. They managed to break away from Alonso a little bit here, or I think maybe, no, here we go. Russell going to go to the outside of Gasly, around the outside of turn 1. What a move that is for him, and that's George Russell back up into the lead. He'll be going for his second race win this season. Alonso, sorry, also would be going for his second race win, and well, Gasly just would like some points, to be completely honest with you, as we have our pit stops. Good pit stop for Sainz and for Ricciardo, so both cars into the pits there. Onto tyres, I believe Sainz is onto, we actually had to go onto a set of mediums with Sainz. We couldn't, you know, let those tyres keep going until the intermediate period, as Ricciardo then makes a move up the inside of Ocon. Now on that same lap, I believe, coming on to the next lap, he's going to go up the inside of Albon as well, so making our way through some slower cars. Then next lap around again, Ricciardo going up the inside of one of the, well, it's got to be Norris, right? Because Zhou Guanyu is out of this race from earlier on. Lots of moves now getting made as Sainz is literally in last position of the runners here. He's got to battle his way back through again as well. So both of our drivers now kind of on the move forward. Sainz on the inside of Perez. Perez, though, trying to hold this one out. He doesn't want to be the car in last place, but Sainz has fresher tyres and is a quicker car, and he gets past Perez. He's then gonna also get past one of the Alpines, I believe, of Alexander Albon. There we go, up the inside of him. Easy move for Sainz there as well. And we now cut to once again to the lead, where now Alonso is back in the lead again. It's just strategies going all over the place, and Russell is going to retake that lead on a fresh set of tyres into turn 1. You can see now it's getting rather dark as well. The clouds are really coming over. The rain is on its way, as now Sainz goes up the inside of Ocon. Plenty of moves happening there. There's yellow flags now. Yellow flags out. I'm not sure what that was for. Might have just been someone running wide because there wasn't any intervention there. Now, though, the rain is starting to come down. Ricciardo's in first for a set of inters, but I believe we're double stacking the cars. Sainz just behind, also onto a set of inters. So this really hasn't worked out very well for Sainz, to be honest. You know, he was ahead, and now he is behind his teammate, so he won't be too happy about that, but we'll see how this pans out. The rain very much coming down now, and there's a yellow flag once again, and it's actually a safety car. There is a safety car out on track now. Who is that? Norris is coming into the pits. It's Yuki Tsunoda again. Tsunoda doing more crazy things. If we go down into turn 1, he's going on attack with one of the RBs, and he just leaves it way too late. Punts one of the RBs into the wall. Tsunoda's lost his front wing as well, and that is the second incident, the second collision that Yuki Tsunoda has had in this race. Who was it that he punted off? It was Charles Leclerc, I believe, but both RBs are out because Hulkenberg had a mechanical failure under the safety car, so I just can't believe that. Safety car finally came in. We're actually letting Sainz go past Ricciardo now because he seems to have more pace. So we let him go, and now Albon's done something, and ooh, okay, just misses the wall. Albon just misses the wall there, but everybody seemingly struggling a lot here. Now I'm looking at the weather because, as you can see, that blue line is the water on the track. That is now going down. The tyres are going to start overheating, but then it's going to be very short, and then there's going to be a big rainfall again. So I want to just, if I can, try and keep these tyres alive as quickly as I can, as now there's another collision between a Mercedes and an Aston Martin, this time of Lance Stroll. I don't know. I think that was actually Piastri. I don't think that was Tsunoda. That was Piastri who made contact with Stroll there. There's a lot of things going on. The other Alpine of Esteban Ocon going round there, and he spins his car around and goes into the wall. Oh my god, this race has everything going on. There are so many crashes, so many issues, and that's another one for the Alpine team. So it is all kicking off here in this rain-soaked Dutch Grand Prix, and as you can see now, the rain is about to start coming down. It's pretty much the driest point now. Now the rain's starting to come up again. The tyres, thankfully under the safety car, actually managed to cool down a little bit, and we've, for now, managed to stay on the intermediate compound tyres through this period. You've now got Verstappen and Piastri battling it out up ahead. They're having a great little battle here. Verstappen actually apparently has an issue. I've heard over the comms that he's got a mechanical problem, but for now he's staying ahead of Piastri, doing a great job in that, you know, faltering Aston Martin. But Piastri's just got so much more pace up the hill, and he's going to go for a bit of an audacious move into this corner down the hill. Great little move there for Oscar Piastri, and now Sainz is actually right behind Verstappen. He's currently in P8, Ricciardo just behind him, and he's now going up the inside of Max Verstappen to get P7 in this race, how things have turned around. 10 laps to go and we're P7 and P9 with both our cars. And now Verstappen's got a puncture. Verstappen has a puncture for staying out too long on those tires. He must have got them too hot in that period. And Sergio Perez as well also has a puncture for the same reason, just stayed out a bit too long or didn't quite work out with the whole the dry period. And as we get to the end of the race, it is drying out again. My inters for both my drivers were starting to really wear out. Everybody's now coming in for the softs, at least the people that have very worn inters. So we've got to go for it. We go for a set of soft compound tires. They're not brand new tires because I didn't have any brand new tires, but they're basically new, just used for like a lap or two in qualifying, as Lando Norris actually manages to get past Ricciardo in the last couple of laps. So that's unfortunate. It's going to push Ricciardo down a couple of positions. Max Verstappen as well, also trying to go for a move, trying to recover here, but he very nearly goes in to the back of a Red Bull there. That could have been a big crash there, and I don't know if that was Russell or if it was Bottas. Russell, though, comfortably in the lead of this race at the moment, has a massive lockup, and he's going to end up in the gravel, but thankfully for him, he will manage to continue on, and he's got a big enough gap that he's still 2 seconds ahead of Gasly in second. Bottas just got past Alonso for P3 as well.
In first, it's George Russell.
Well, it was never certain, but if anything, that must make the victory taste even sweeter.
And yes, it is George Russell who wins this race. I believe that is 2 wins for him now this season, the second driver to get 2 wins. And for us, it is a very good day. Carlos Sainz comes home for P7 in the Williams, but it's a double points finish for Williams. It's P9 for Daniel Ricciardo. We pick up 8 points. We pick up 8 points from this race. We've only had 1 point so far this whole season. Now we've got 9.
And up he goes, George Russell joining the podium lineup after a memorable Grand Prix.
What an excellent way to take a second win of the season with a composed performance today.
A sea of smiles all around. They're on top of the world here in Zandvoort.
Great stuff from Red Bull. They finally get another win. It's been a while since Red Bull have actually won a race. They were so dominant at the start, but Ferrari and McLaren have been, putting them to the test these last few races. But this time it is Russell P1 and Bottas manages P3. Pierre Gasly finally gets some good points up on the board with a P2 finish. So he's going to be very happy with that. And yeah, what a result for Sainz and Ricciardo. Norris goes there in P8. That helps Haas out quite a lot. We'll see that in a moment. But and they are, of course, our main rival at this point in time. In the Drivers' Championship, Carlos Sainz still leads the way with those 6 points he gained this race. He's still leading the way, but now it's George Russell in second place. Logan Sargent is now the driver at the bottom of this championship on 20 points. So 20 points is the least amount of points a driver has so far in this career mode. And in the constructors, well, Red Bull are still going away at the front and they have a big hole of points here. But Williams, we are now up to P7, 1 point ahead of Haas. But thankfully for Haas, not thankfully for us, but for Lando Norris and Haas, that P8 finish for Norris does mean they're only 1 point behind us. So it is still very close, but we are now up to P7. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.